Hello everyone, I am Dr. Reshma Saraswat and today in this class we will take a look on a different and somehow radical topic which is philosophy and concept of deschooling society by Ivan Illich. This concept shook the world because it was the concept which broke the traditional mindset of the people of that time. And even today this concept seems to be new when we are living in the today's era of the digital world. So first of all we must know who was Ivan Illich. Ivan Illich was a philosopher, a priest, and the social critic who was born in 1926 in Vienna, Austria. He had spent much of his time in Latin America, especially in Mexico, where he had witnessed how Western institutions such as schools, hospitals, and churches were being exported to poor countries, promising them progress. But what he had witnessed was dependency, inequality, and cultural destruction. So, one of the most radical and thought provoking books ever written on education came out of in 1971, Deschooling Society. It was written by Ivan Illich. It wasn't just a complaint about bad schools and bad teachers. It was the idea, it was the concept, and was a challenge to very idea that school as an institution are a good way for human beings to learn. His concept of deschooling shook the world of education. It made people uncomfortable because it changed something almost everyone takes for granted, that going to school is good, necessary, and a foundation for a decent life. The big question Illich poses a question in a very simple yet explosive way. What if school itself is the problem? Not good schools, not underfunded schools, not poorly trained teachers, the very idea of school itself. The wrong values, they teach people to be passive, obedient, and dependent. Illich claims that the problem with the school is that they, even good ones, teach people the wrong things, not the wrong subjects. They teach people that their worth is defined by their qualification and grades. They teach people that learning is something that is done to them by experts in the classroom at a particular age. And this, Illich claims, is very bad for human freedom, creativity, and dignity. Why we must de-establish a school? Illich begins by drawing a parallel between schools and the churches. Churches means that were the religious places there. In both cases, there is a monopoly that claims that only within those walls will you find what you seek. In the case of churches, which was the religious places, it is a monopoly on the spirituality and monopoly on salvation. Only within the churches will you find true salvation. Similarly, in school, it is monopoly on learning and monopoly on being educated. You cannot be said to be educated unless you have been certified by school. You cannot get a good job, earn respect, or be a full member of society without being certified by the school. So this is what Illich calls the school mind. It is a mind that has been trained to believe that learning requires a teacher. Knowledge is divided into subjects and grades. Progress means moving from one level to another. Your value as a person is measured by your qualifications. So Illich points out that this is not just a problem in poor countries and in bad schools, it is a problem in all our lives. It does not matter that you are a millionaire, that you have a degree from Harvard, you still have a school mind and still believe that learning requires a teacher. Illich introduced a powerful concept that is that of process and substance being confused with each other. When schools become compulsory and universal, it becomes a case of process being confused with substance. People start to believe that going to school and learning are the same thing. This is one of the biggest tricks that ever being played on modern society. The phenomena of the school, what actually school does. Illich looks at what actually goes on in the classroom, not what we hope is going on. What he found is that there are three things that goes on in the classroom that are rarely discussed openly. They are: school teaches the hidden curriculum, not mathematics, not history, not English, but something much more powerful and more destructive. What is it? The child learns obedience, means sit down, be quiet, do what you are told. Hierarchy, there are people above you, people below you, and it's natural that it should be so. Consumption, education is a product that is brought to you, and the more of it is the better. Self doubt, unless it is brought to you by an expert, what you know is not worth knowing. The child learns all of this much more thoroughly than anything else. When a child has spent 12 years in the classroom, they have learned on very important thing that they are not whole without the certification of the institutions. In the continuation, we can say that school create inequality while pretending to fight it. One of the most common myths about modern education is that it reduces inequality. Illich dispels this myth with brilliant clarity. Contrary to the claims of the education system in all countries of the world, the rich have had far more schooling than the poor. They have had better schooling and they have had it for longer. The education system is not the great equalizer it is claimed to be. The more a country invests in the education system, the more it invests in the inequalities of the status quo. In fact, the education system is so effective in perpetuating inequalities that it has created a new kind of underclass. Those who cannot afford the kind of schooling that will give them a chance to climb out of the status. The man who learned his skills through practice, through apprenticeship, through independent study, regardless of his skills and talents, is not as good as man with a degree. According to Deschooling Society, Illich again says that the school destroys the love of learning. Perhaps the saddest thing Illich says is that by their very nature, a school destroys the love of learning. Children are born learners. They are naturally curious, creative, and love to explore their world. They even learn to walk, to talk, to navigate complex social situations, all without any formal instruction. But put them in a school, make them learn, grade them, give them consequences if they don't, divide their learning into abstract subjects unrelated to real life, and within a few years, the love of learning is dead. Now, learning something done out of obligation to please teachers, to avoid consequences, something done to pass time, not something done because one is naturally curious about the world. Then Illich says is not a defect of the system, but its purpose. A school exists to produce good, predictable workers and consumers, not curious, free learning humans. So, what is ritualization of the progress? Illich continues to explore the psychology of schooling. He claims that school is a secular religion. Think about it, it is compulsory. You must go to school just as you must follow the rules of the religion. It has rituals, means grades, promotion, graduation ceremonies, and certification awarded. It was priesthood, means teachers and professors who are great keepers of the knowledge. It has sacred test, means curriculum that defines what knowledge is legitimate. It has heaven and hell, success and failure. Heaven and hell means success and failure, and graduation and dropping out. In the religious context, the unschooled person is seems as incomplete, undeveloped, even dangerous. Such as the unchurched person in the past was seen as spiritually lost, the unschooled person is today seen as socially and economically lost. According to Illich, the religious nature of the schooling makes it impossible to attack or criticize. To attack the school is to appear to be against education, against process, against the future of the children. So Illich is saying that we must attack it anyway and be honest about what it does as opposed to what it claims to do. Again, what are the institutional spectrum? Here, Illich expands his discussion beyond schools. He sets up a spectrum with two extremes. One end is represented by convivial institutions, that increase the freedom, creativity, and autonomy of the people. A good example is a public library. Another is the telephone system. They are institutions that put tools at people's disposal and allow them to use those tools as they choose. The other end is represented by manipulating institutions, those that increase dependency, coerce people and conformity, and have a life of their own in opposition to the people they claim to serve. Schools, hospitals, and the military industrial complexes are examples. The difference is important. A convivial institution is saying to people, here are tools and resources, use them as you choose. A manipulative institution is saying, we know what you need and you must receive it from us in our own way at our own time. Schools are manipulative in this way. School decide what knowledge is worthwhile, what you should learn at what age, in what sequence, and who should teach you. You have no choice in the matter. So Illich's view is a good society should have as many as convivial institutions as possible and few manipulative one as possible. The aim should be the aim should put tools in the people's hand, not to control people's life. So coming to the irrational consistencies, Ellis discussed the political economy of schooling. Who benefits, who pays, and why it persists in spite of obvious failure for most people. Illich argues that there is a tremendous economic cost for universal compulsory education. The cost of providing universal and compulsory education is one of the highest of any social program, even undertaken by governments. In poor countries, it diverts resources from other urgent needs. Why? But what is the return on this investment for the poor? Illich argues that it is minimal. The poor child in a school in a poor country of the world gets a few years of bad education, a piece of paper, and that is it. The real child, on the other hand, goes from a well-equipped school through a good university and re-ups a tremendous return on his educational investment. The system is supposed to be equal and fair, but it is really a system where the poor pay for the education of the rich and are grateful for the opportunity. Now we come to the criticism of Illich's deschooling society. So Illich's idea was powerful and influential, but they have also faced some criticisms. It is worth mentioning some of them in order to have a better understanding of this topic. First, schools are protection for the school. Schools have become a safe place for the children, especially for those coming from a poor background or from a home that does not provide a nurturing environment. Abolishing school will leave these children in a vulnerable position. Second, not all individuals are capable of self-directed learning. Ellis' ideas are based on a premise that individuals will be inclined to learn what they need to know. However, this is not true for all individuals. Third point, in order to have equality in society, we need schools. Illich is correct in saying that schools have increased inequality in society. However, it is also true that in schools, every child has equal access to some basic learning and education. And the fourth point, that there are some areas that cannot be learned by networking and exchanging skills. So these are some of the criticism against Illich ideas about school and learning. However, it is important to remember that Illich ideas were not necessarily about abolishing schools in a hurry. It was more about the challenging our perceptions about schools and learning. At last, the message given by the Ivan Illich by the Concept Schooling Society, we can say that after 50 years, the essence of Illich message is just as simple, just as radical. Learning is a natural human activity. It doesn't have to be managed, packaged, and sold by institutions. When we make learning compulsory and institutional, we damage it. We don't produce educated people, only certified ones. We don't produce free people, only obedient ones. So Illich challenges us to envision a world where learning is a natural part of everyday life, where learning is shared, where curiosity is encouraged, where people are trusted to know what they need to know, and where there is no definition of what it means to be educated. This is the radical vision. So this is discomforting vision, but 50 years later, as we face the failure of our education systems around the world, I think it is necessary one. Thank you.